and welcome everyone. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about trunk and trunking encapsulation protocol. So let us try to understand what exactly the trunk and the trunking encapsulation protocol is. So let's take one scenario to understand the same. So the scenario is like this. Let's say we have the switch and the PCs are here like this. Consider this is your one of the department, this is another department. For example, this is VLAN 10 and this is basically working for, let's say, your sales department, and this is your HR department, and this is your VLAN 20, and this is in switch 1. Say for example, we have got one more switch. Let's say we have got one more switch, and in this switch also we have the couple of PCs, and consider it's a common. Let's say this belongs to your sales 1 and this belongs to your HR, like VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, and this is in switch 2. Now the major point is we'll be using the trunking or maybe the trunking encapsulation protocol itself to have the communications from one switch to another switch itself is the major one. But the point is why? See this. If I want to communicate from one of the VLANs, let's say VLAN 10 to 10, so I can have the separate cable and connect here and I can communicate. It's very much possible. VLAN 20, I can connect the separate physical cable and I can have the connectivity here as well. But the major point is right now we are just having the two VLANs like VLAN 10 and 20, and between the switches, if I want to have the communication, I need the separate cable. What if I have 10 VLAN? I need the 10 separate cable, and that is itself not a feasible solution. That's the main reason what we are having. We are having one of the technology which we considered as trunking technology, or you can say the trunk port between the switches. This is basically the major point. This you will consider as trunking or maybe the trunk link, and this port is considered as trunk port. The port is considered as trunk port. This port also considered as trunk port. And what happens now? Whenever any VLAN traffic comes from PCA to, let's say, PCB, whenever the traffic is coming here, it will add VLAN 10 and it will send the information to next switch. This switch will check information is coming for VLAN 10, it will remove and then it will send to VLAN 10. The communications will take place. Similarly, if this PC, let's say A1, try to communicate with, let's say, A2, so the traffic will go to this, it will say it is coming from VLAN 20, it will send the traffic here. Another switch will check VLAN 20, it will remove that and it will send that information to VLAN 20. So single physical link will work like a multiple port here, because virtually it will carry the VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 traffic here. And this is the process of your trunk and trunking encapsulation protocol. To do this particular tagging, untagging, tagging, untagging, we will be using some protocol itself. And that protocol is considered as trunking protocol. So what is trunk? It should be clear now. Between the switches, if you want to have the communications, you can go ahead and make use of trunk link. And we use the trunking protocols to have the communications. See this now. Read this. So trunk port allows the multiple VLAN traffic to pass through a single physical connection by adding the header to Ethernet frame. And there are two protocols. We have ISL and we have .1Q. ISL stands for Inter Switch Link, which is basically developed by Cisco, and it uses 30 bytes of information to add the extra header and trailer between the switches. And .1Q is open standard, which is supported in any of the devices, and just 4 bytes of informations will get added. Even in the Cisco devices also, Cisco recommends that go ahead and make use of .1q only. ISL not in use. ISL not in use. So make sure .1q is the default protocol even in the Cisco devices as well. This is a scenario for trunk encapsulation protocol, like if you have the two switches here and let's say the multiple VLANs wants to communicate with other VLANs in next switches. So you can use any of the protocol here like .1q or ISL. .1q is the recommended one. How to go ahead and configure this? See, make sure this is switch connected to another switch. This port is considered as trunk port, trunk port. You need to perform this particular configuration in both of the switches and same configuration. So what to do? Go to interface and interface mode and configure this. Switch port mode trunk, switch port mode trunk, and then switch port trunk allowed VLAN all is by default. This is by default is there. But if you want a port to query a specific traffic, you can say this as well. For example, by default, any VLAN traffic can pass through this link. Any VLAN traffic. Even through this link also, any VLAN traffic can pass. But if you want to say that, hey, you pass just a specific VLAN 20 traffic, that is also possible. That's what? Switch port trunk allowed VLAN all is by default. If you want, you can say specific VLAN traffic to carry here. This is configuration. Make sure you need to perform this configuration in switch 1 trunk link as well as switch 2 trunk link as well. That's very important. So far, how you can go ahead and verify? So interface trunk, either this is the command which we have seen in our previous video as well. So interface, interface type, interface number and switch port to know the detailed information about the interfaces, that how it is working. And in this chapter we have seen that what is trunk and what is the use case of trunk and which protocol we can use and how to configure. When it comes to the actual demo, we will see you in the next lecture. So that's it for this particular lecture. I will see you in the next lecture with the demo with the configuration. Thank you.